Hi, in this video we'll combine a few of the things we learned recently in the Hello Amplify Fusion video series and create a larger integration. So we'll have an XML file that we will SFTP to an integration to trigger it. We'll use the XML parser to read the contents. Then we'll map that data to a CSV format. And then we'll use the S3 connector to create a CSV file and upload it to a CSV bucket. So what I'm going to do is let's start here with the Hello XML. So we'll use that as a starting point. And I'm going to change the name of that to XML2CSV2S3. Hello XML to CSV to S3. Let's do that. Okay, and we can see here we have a good starting point. If you don't recall, I've got an SFTP server ingest. I'm looking for a single XML file to trigger my integration. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the employee XML data object that I created. And it's going to take the file contents of the file that was SFTP'd, and it's going to create a data set here, or an array of records that looks like the employee XML object. All right, so what we want to do now is one of the next steps, actually there'll be something in between this, is we're going to take a FlatFileParser. And if you recall from the Hello CSV videos, we had a FlatFileParser based on the CSV file of employees. But we're going to do a write this time because I want to create a string that's going to be the body or the contents of the file I'm going to upload. And the context CSV is the data object, and if you don't recall, it looks like that. So delimited records, first name, last name, email. And what I'm going to do, the employee XML data object expose this kind of object in Fusion. But the important thing is I've got an array of records and I have an array of delimited records. And I could just map these. If they had the same field names, I could just map from array to array. But since I have first underscore name and first name, I would need to do that. But let's add some mapping in between. Now, in order to add some mapping, I would like a copy of this object so I can create a variable to map to. So I'll do a copy node, save that, and what I'll do is I'll insert a map component here because my mapping will be simple. And I want to map this employee XML data to something that I could assign to my FlatFileParser. So let me paste that. And that's contact CSV mapped. Okay. So what I'll do is, so first name I'll just map directly. You know, I work for a French company, so oftentimes we see the last name is in uppercase. So I'm going to use a map function. I'll map my last name to, or last underscore name to last name, all uppercase. Everything else I'll just map directly. Now, I can't see those map lines because the map function's open, but if I close that, I can see them. Job title, state, city, mapping everything directly. And then I'll show you a new feature. You know, I'd like to map consumer to consumer, but I'd like to have some condition on that. So I don't have an area here for an if statement, and I don't want to add extra components to my integration, but I can do what's known as a conditional map. So what I'd like to do is if you recall from my XML file, I've got this thing called consumer and it has values A, B, or C. So you see B, B, C, A. So what I'd like to do is if that consumer value is A, I'm just making this up, if the consumer value is A, then let's just say we'll set the consumer in the CSV file to A. And let me just copy this. Let me add a condition. If it's not A, So if it's B or C or something else, so if it's not A, then we'll just map it to null. So all the A's will come over as A's, B's and C's will be mapped to null. All right, so that's done. Now we can come over here in the FlatFileParser, and I can take this contact CSV mapped. It has the same exact structure as that, so I can just do it at the root level like that. And again, I don't have to loop over any arrays, which is nice. The platform will handle that inside. And now let's bring an instance of an S3 component, and we'll do a create object. So you might want to go back to the Hello Amazon S3 video and see how we created the connector. But I've got a connector already. And just to remind you, it's using my client ID and secret for an IAM account that I've got. And if I look at my bucket, the bucket is called LB file test, and it's in a folder called test, and it's empty right now. All right, so LB file test is the bucket name. The key name, let's just hard code that. So it was in a folder called test, and let's just call it employees.csv. I could get the file name from the SFTP file that I received, and I could use that. Well, in fact, why don't we do that? In case I change the file name. All right, let's grab the file name and put it in the test folder. The content is going to be FF strings. This was the output of the FlatFileParser. And the input type here, set value input type is string. And for a CSV file, I think, I have to look it up, but I think it's just text CSV, but that's all right. SV doesn't care. And let's test this out. So let me come here, FileZilla, let's refresh. And again, if you didn't see the prior video, I'm connected here to my SFTP ingest. These are the credentials. And you can see I'm connected. And if I go to the incoming folder, and I will take this file and bring it over to here, and that should trigger my integration. So if I come over here, come to my LB file test and click refresh, I have an employees.xml file. Oh, it's actually a CSV, but I used the file name that was SFTP'd, so this, you'll see that it's a CSV file. Even though it says XML, you can see that this is a CSV file. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but here are my A's, and all of my B's are null. B's and C's are all null. And they were mostly B's and C's. If I look here, B, B, C, there's an A, C, B, C, there's an A. So they're mainly B's and C's. There's really only two A's. So this is my CSV file that was uploaded to S3. So in this video, we saw a larger integration where we were SFTPing an XML file. We parsed it using the XML parser with an XML data object corresponding to the file. Then I did some light mapping. There's my uppercase last name. And I also did some conditional mapping of that consumer object, which was A, and then the B's and C's got nulled out. And lastly, we used the S3 connector from a prior video and used the create object to upload a CSV file to S3. The only problem is we called it an XML file, but it doesn't matter because this is clearly a CSV file. Thank you.